Hey everybody, and welcome back to Dude's Brunch. It's a podcast about pop culture, internet garbage, and black coffee. I'm your host, Taylor Olmstead, and with me this week, it's Tyler Reed. Tyler, what did you have for brunch today?
Hey everyone, today I had the same thing I have literally like every Sunday, but I did go to a new brunch spot this week, and I had a... God, I'm trying to find the menu, I'm sorry, hold on, let me see what I got again. One more, let's
You don't remember?
You eat a lot of brunches, you don't remember what you had for brunch?
So I went to Boomtown Biscuits and Whiskey, which was partially built by one of my friends who I went to design school with. So I was like, well, I have to check it out. And what I had was, I didn't have any biscuits. Whoops. I'll probably plan on coming back and getting some of the biscuits though. But I had some poutine with, let me read it, Anko chili, potatoes, caramelized onions, cheese curds, serrano gravy, and I added short rib on it.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, it was real good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I am speechless in the face of that poutine.
Yeah. So that was my brunch like 3 days ago.
It's amazing. Sean Evans is here. Sean, can you top that?
No. I do have a story though. So
okay.
in lieu of talking about what I had for brunch this morning, I had to take my soon-to-be fiance to the airport so she could go visit her family. When I left the airport, as I was driving away, I looked at my control panel on my car and it said, "Your Bluetooth is no longer connected." While I am here in Virginia, my phone is in Cape Cod.
Oh gosh, how did
because she was showing me directions, holding it in her hand, and then she put it in her pocket, thinking that it was hers, and went all the way through the terminal. So basically, for the next 3 days, I don't have a phone. I'm unofficially detoxing from having a phone, and iCloud messages and FaceTime voice call are the only thing that's keeping me connected with anybody who needs to get in contact with me. But I don't know. It's not bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. But I really want my phone back. I had a mini bagel with strawberry cream cheese, and I made instant coffee because I'm a sad boy and Sarah's not here, so I don't want to make a whole pot.
Good. I am satisfied now.
And you just heard her. Emily Bamforth is here, crossing over from 10 Minute Tech Talk. Emily, what did you have for brunch today?
Hi, I had a bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwich and a chai latte. Ooh. It was delicious.
Did you make all of this or did you go out?
I went out. I just got back from vacation, so we didn't have anything in the house. So I went to Starbucks, where they probably know my name, but I go through the drive-thru, so I can never test that.
That's fair.
Well, if they really loved you, they would know through the drive-thru window.
I always order the same thing at the same Starbucks, so if they don't know by now, I've lived here for I've been going there since it's been open. So if they don't know me, then I'm just not going to leave an impression.
That's a fun game I like to play at my coffee shop. I try to memorize as many orders as possible. So what I'm saying is they're doing a really bad job.
No, when I was at OU, the people at Court Street Coffee knew that I liked whipped cream on any coffee that I ordered. So they were like, God. Whipped cream, right? And I'm like, yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, can I get a black Americano? So whipped cream, right?
It kind of surprises me that you were a Court Street Coffee person, and you kind of strike me as a Kroger Starbucks person. You were
Oofa doofa.
Also, ow!
I don't know. You say you go to Starbucks all the time. Like, forgive me for saying that.
But she lived on the west side of Athens, so, you know.
I did. I lived by the Skull. There was no getting to Starbucks easily from there. No, I was... Every time I went to Kroger, I did go to that Starbucks. So, you got me. But Court Street Coffee was my love that I could actually get to on top of the hill.
This has been Regional Podcast Content Corner.
Now we're going to move into Atlanta-themed show topics. This is episode number 5 of those probably in the past year.
God, I know, right? But I have to share what I had for brunch first. I'm your host, Taylor, and for brunch this morning, I was in New England. I was visiting with some friends who were in Rhode Island, and so we decided the night before that we were going to treat ourselves. And so we woke up this morning and made French press coffee.
Ooh.
And then went to get brunch. We had to make our own coffee because we went to the king of brunch spots. That's right, the Taco Bell drive-thru.
They don't have coffee?
God.
They do, but it's god-awful.
Why would you ever go to a Taco Bell drive-thru for breakfast?
Well, so the Taco Bell breakfast is actually surprisingly good for fast food breakfast. Sean and I both talked about this on the show before. And my friends who live in Rhode Island don't get Taco Bell because the closest one is in Massachusetts, like probably 20 minutes down the road to Boston. And so usually if they're going to Boston, they're taking the train. They're not going to drive. And so it was a special occasion that they were driving me to the airport in Boston and got to swing through Taco Bell on the way. And so we had Taco Bell breakfast today.
Ew.
Did you have a layover at Ronald Reagan today at all?
No, it's a direct Boston to Atlanta on JetBlue and Delta.
Really kind of wanted that phone back today.
No, I would. As I flew over DC, I thought to myself, man, I almost could have arranged these flights so that I could swing through DC and see Sean, but it just didn't work out. It is what it is. I'm back in Atlanta now.
Couldn't swing through Ohio, huh?
Well, that's not how layovers work, so.
No, it's cool. It's fine. No one's counting.
Yeah, Let me just fly the other direction to Cleveland for no reason and then fly back down.
I never said I wasn't demanding. I just am making the demands.
So speaking of Ohio, just an interesting little piece of follow-up for everybody. This week, common show topic and Ohio screamo band Hawthorne Heights released a new single because apparently they're still a band.
They're still a band? What?
Yeah.
Wait, is it good? No, it's not. But is it good?
It's just okay. Hawthorne Heights' new single, Just Another Ghost, off of their upcoming album Bad Frequencies. It's just fine.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out. They're from Cincinnati, right?
Dayton, but close.
How dare you? How dare you?
First of all, but actually, are like a suburb of Dayton or
Yeah, like one of the southern suburbs of Dayton.
So Beaver Creek.
Oh,
Yeah, I was going to say like maybe Beaver Creek or Kettering or something. I don't know. Ben would be able to tell us. But yeah, so if you need some good Midwestern screamo in your life, there will be links in the show notes to the new Hawthorne Heights single. It's really not bad. I can't stress that.
You realize that's like calling Barberton part of Cleveland, right?
Barberton is a Northeast Ohio area.
Thank you. Emily does maps, everybody. Emily knows maps. Okay. But no, you didn't really answer the question that I was kind of throwing out there.
You're right.
Is, would you consider Barberton part of Cleveland?
But what suburb would you call that? Would you call that a suburb of something?
Akron.
Or Akron? Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're definitely not wrong.
I didn't need you to gratify me 3 times. I was just getting like an idea of the Emily radius of like Gary, Indiana is a suburb of Indianapolis, and
Erie, Pennsylvania is actually a Cleveland suburb. Just group them all together.
All cities that aren't Cleveland are suburbs of Cleveland.
You know, Belleville, Mansfield, really a suburb of Columbus.
I'm going to drop that in a conversation next time to talk about where I'm from around here. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, I live in Washington, D.C. They're going to be like, oh, cool. And be like, yeah, but it's only a suburb of Cleveland. Everything is a suburb of Cleveland. Like, the radius of everything. Like, it comes out of Cleveland.
Welcome to the United States of Cleveland. Here's your LeBron jersey.
Cleveland against the world. That's how I view it anyway.
In other less regional follow-up, Toys R Us going bankrupt and closing all of their stores.
Oh no, nobody could tell that was going to happen. No.
What does that mean?
We all knew that was going to happen.
Oh no, Mr. Bill, Toys R Us is closing. Oh no.
So it's not really necessarily follow-up that Toys R Us is closing, but it is follow-up in a way because Toys R Us says Millennials are the reason they're closing, and called the millennial generation a, quote, looming demographic time bomb.
Wow.
Emily Bamforth, as our resident expert on things millennials are killing, how do you feel about this?
Okay, consumer choice does not mean that we're a ticking time bomb. It means we're gaining purchasing power. And anyway, Toys R Us, you might want to look at your investment bank owners before you come for the millennials, because they're probably siphoning money out of you, and that's part of the problem, because you were dying anyway. So here's the thing, is that Target and Kroger are looking at merging. All of these different stores are adding options like Instacart or online shopping or one-day delivery. Toys R Us didn't keep up. That's the long and the short of it.
I just think that Toys R Us is upset because they're getting lumped into the category that they don't see themselves as, which is industries that have died thanks to millennials. And this includes industries like bar soap, titty restaurants like Hooters and bikinis, and now Toys R Us. And I think they see themselves as this wholesome company, but really just another thing. Just another thing.
Yeah, it's not an interesting value proposition because we can get all the same stuff on Amazon. And
Yep.
that's not just millennials, that's everybody.
Yeah.
You will find nobody who loves Amazon more than my mother. So she is killing industries left and right, and she sure isn't a millennial.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
It just feels so shitty because we could probably still say we are, but we're going through like a board game renaissance, and it's like, boy, sure, with a toy company, the biggest toys chain in the United States, it sure would be good if they stocked any relevant board games at all. Like,
Yeah, they had
that feels
opportunities like that, and they just didn't take them.
and and I feel like just from what I've read, it seems like the people who were in charge of making those decisions probably didn't care as much as they should, and they probably didn't research as much as they needed to in order to keep a business alive. Because, I don't think that it's that ridiculous that Toys R Us could survive. I don't think that's ridiculous, especially in a world where, as the person I am, I will buy collectors action figures and toys, but I mean, it has to be, I don't know, it just has to be what I want, and just, not completely MSRP all the time, and no offer for bonus, like discounts or anything. I don't know. It just...
Yeah, that was the complaint that I heard from some of my coworkers who are parents. It wasn't that Toys R Us, they were going to Amazon to buy everything, or it was more that they could go to stores like, and I'm talking brick and mortar stores here. I'm not talking like going online, like Target and Walmart and Kohl's and places like this that run deals and run membership stuff and get 50% off of what they were going to pay for it at Toys R Us. It just seems like the logical decision there. And two, there's something that's in flawed logic here of like, if you're blaming millennials for the end of Toys R Us, I don't understand why your business model is predicated on student loan debt strapped people.
Yeah, exactly. Surely they should know better. On this week's show, we wanted to talk about a Netflix series. It's not, I guess we can call it a new series. It's a reboot of an older series. So the original show ran on Bravo. You probably know it as Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, later shortened to Queer Eye. And Netflix recently did an 8-episode reboot season with a brand new cast, and it's all shot here in Atlanta, which is why I was really interested in it. And when I was talking around to the podcast panel, most of us had watched some of it and just felt like we really wanted to talk about it because it's a really interesting show. So basically the way Queer Eye works is these 5 gay men are sent to a person's house or place of business or family get together or something by the nominated person's like friends or family, and they take that person through some sort of makeover process over the course of a week. It usually involves something with their home, something with fashion, some grooming, some culture tips, and some cooking tips. And each of the 5 guys kind of handles one of these areas. And I'll just run down the list real quick to give everybody a rough idea of who these people are. So you have Bobby Burke, who is the design expert who does a lot of the home makeover stuff. Anthony Porowski, who is the food and culinary expert. Jonathan Van Ness, who is the grooming expert. Tan France, who is the fashion expert. And Karamo Brown, who is the culture expert. And so these 5 guys, over the course of these 8 episodes, give 8 makeovers to 8 very different men. I know Sean, Emily, and I have all watched all of this season. Tyler, how much of the show have you watched?
I mean, I'm finishing up just episode 2, but I mean, I feel like I understand.
Okay.
You don't. Not yet.
Oh, no.
Not yet.
Oh?
The pilot episode is good, but you haven't hit the, like, golden ones yet.
Yeah, they get more intense as you go, for sure. So I wanted to talk about this because I don't really watch a lot of reality TV anymore. I honestly couldn't really tell you the last reality show I watched before this, but this show just really captured my attention earlier this month. And I was like really into it and watched all of them and found each episode like super satisfying and uplifting and interesting. And I was watching some of it with my roommate who also doesn't watch a lot of reality TV. And we were both just commenting on like how tightly produced it is and how good it looks and how well they convey the positivity of what's going on in the show. And so I kind of wanted to just talk about the overall vibe with you all before we start digging into specifics. What drew you all to the show, and what was your kind of impression of it overall?
I watched the original Queer Eye for Straight Guy, and I loved it. And I remember seeing it just in reruns and just falling in love with the people on it. And then all of a sudden, the entire internet was talking about the reboot. Just everyone on Instagram, every person on my Twitter. I'm in kind of that space. I watch a lot of reality TV. So as I've said multiple times before on podcasts, but this one is definitely different. I went into it kind of expecting like that uplifting vibe and that just a fun show, but I didn't expect to be like drowning in my own tears each episode because I cried a lot. I think I cried more times than the number of episodes that there are. Like some of them just multiple times an episode. I'm like, they're just so happy. They weren't happy before and now they're happy.
Look at him julienning those carrots.
Anthony is so proud of him because he made guacamole. Guacamole's not even that hard.
I liked it. I thought it was really good. I started watching it because Sarah was watching it and she was like, "Have you seen the new episode of Queer Eye?" And I was like, "No," because I hadn't seen the old series and I don't have Netflix. So basically, that's how I watched it. I watched like half of an episode, figuring I would get to it someday, but then you want to talk about it. So then I just binged watched it all and now I'm here.
So what was your thought of like the overall feel of the show, like the vibe?
Oh, I liked it. I thought it was really funny. As a guy who is, I wouldn't say I would be on the show, but of around the age of the people that were generally on the show, because they pick guys that are, you know, between their mid-20s to late 30s, which I'm like nice in that area. It was very like I could sympathize. What
about you, Tyler? What was your impression so far?
Well, I would say that this show originally came out in 2013, or 2003, so I was 13 at the time, and needless to say, I had zero interest in watching the show in any facet. So like, I was pleasantly surprised to watch this again, or to watch this like in my current state. Like I've been kind of getting into more like dressing nicer, like trying to like put outfits together, try to like actually make like food for myself. I was like, oh, this is so nice. This is
Tyler, did you see yourself being a candidate for this show?
I mean, I would do it just so I could get like some Bonobo shirts.
Because we have a surprise for you now.
Oh yeah, on the podcast. No.
I love $300 t-shirts.
But no, that's interesting that you feel like it's hitting you at the right time in life, because I feel kind of similarly. Like, I think all of us are in kind of that age bracket, like Sean was saying, that's really relevant for this show. But there's also, like, in every episode, I think there's something for every person to latch onto and be like, you know what, I could do a little bit better on that one thing. Like, I could step up my cooking a little bit more, or I could, like, do that simple thing to make my apartment look better. Like, I think that's really the success of the show, is that a lot of what they do feels attainable. Some of it doesn't. Like, there are a few points where they go to these places and get, like, custom suits made for the guys, and I'm like, this is not a thing that I'm gonna get anytime soon. But a lot of what they show them is, like, relatively practical and relatively inexpensive, which I think is kind of the greatest thing about this new run of Queer Eye, is that it's very, very accessible.
Such as getting a haircut.
But before the show was set in New York, and they would go shopping at all these fancy boutiques and get their hair done at the top places, and it was very expensive and very lavish. And in one of these episodes, they take them one-stop shopping at Target and just buy stuff from Target, because that's what they're going to be able to afford in the future. So might as well teach them to shop for groceries there and shop for their family's hair there and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was really cool. It's a good update for a generation of people who are watching their finances and want things that are kind of realistic, I think.
Well, I think it's pointed at a different, clearly a different demographic in some ways, because maybe the original like show was more like, oh, let's show like not like outrageous, but let's show like high end. Like, let's really dress people up. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, I think this version is almost for this day and age, which is almost like, because, I mean, I feel like teens are, like, dressing better than, like, far better than I do now and did when I was younger. So it's like, it almost feels like it reaches such a broader audience. And I think it's just because I mean, this is a men's show, so I think men's, like, fashion has gotten much more interesting and sophisticated since the last version of the show. So I think it has a little bit more room to breathe. So I think that's probably also why I feel like it hits so nicely.
So part of it is that do you think that it's a lot more acceptable for men now to be interested in fashion and that kind of thing than it was back when the show originally launched?
Oh, absolutely. And you could probably, but no, maybe because of the previous Queer Eye show, that probably started sort of like the ball rolling to eventually lead to where we are now. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That seems possible.
I think that's entirely possible.
Well, and there's an element of it, too, that in the previews for this show, one of the cast members, I don't remember who it was, says the old show was fighting for tolerance. We're fighting for acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's such a big message of this show, is these men on behalf of the LGBT community really trying to show that, you know, it's not all over the top, like, designer clothes and being like ridiculously expensive and inaccessible. Like, they're really trying to pitch this Fab Five and this version of Queer Eye as something that's available to the mainstream and open to the middle class, and kind of normalize that perception.
No, I totally think so. It's like, in the previous one, these gay men were bringing the straight men into their world. And in this one, they're just teaching them that they all live in the same one.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful that they go at the beginning of every episode into the people's homes. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite part, honestly, of each episode, is the sections where they just kind of wreak havoc in someone's house, and they're like, this is what's in your refrigerator? Oh, this is unacceptable. Like, you have this much stuff in your bathroom and your hair still looks like this? Like, that's not right.
Jonathan with any kids is my favorite thing. Like, Jonathan in any situation is kind of my favorite thing. But whenever he's with kids, like their families, it's always my favorite.
We mentioned at the top of this segment the 5 men who make up the Fab Five, or the 5 gay men who go and do these makeovers, I guess we'll call them. There's more to it than that, but they generally call it that on the show. So just to run back down it again, we have Bobby, Anthony, Jonathan, Tan, and Karamo. For each of you, I guess, were there any panelists that stuck out? Any that you liked? Any that you didn't like? Did some of them, did your perceptions of them change over time across a couple of episodes? I'm interested to hear what everybody thought.
There's a difference between my favorite and the one that I think is the most useful. So
Interesting.
I think my favorite is probably, just to watch, is probably Jonathan. Just because even, he's ridiculous, right? He's incredibly over the top, but, when you watch him with these men, that's my favorite interaction, because you just see these, very masculine men, deal with him going, she's not hydrating, honey, she's a liar. And, but once he gets them in the chair, that's when you really see a lot of these men transform, and he's actually very reasonable with what he wants from them. He doesn't shave Tom's beard off in the first episode. He keeps it and just shapes it because he says he wants a ZZ Top beard. So he's okay, we can keep that, but we're gonna do it this way so that your face doesn't break out. The one I think is the most useful is probably Bobby, who's the interior design one, because he changes everything, and the way somebody lives in their home is their house that highly influences their life. However, not my favorite to watch. Kind of happy that he kind of comes in and then just comes in at the end.
Well, yeah, because he's at their house, redecorating most of the time.
Except for the one time he was I'm a farmer, and started
Yeah, that episode was weird.
I love that episode.
Sean, what did you think? Did you have a favorite? Was there one that you thought was more useful than the others? Anything like that?
I think in terms of the biggest impact, it was probably Bobby. I felt like he kind of gets jilted in the series because it's they come back and Bobby's work is done. Or in a couple episodes, they showed Bobby's assistant who was actually doing the work while Bobby's out hyping the show. He comes out in certain scenes all the time where he's all happy and giddy. But I feel like when you come home, you really see Bobby's work to help kind of Bobby helps out everybody. I feel you see people's kitchens get remade, or maybe they're, I know Tyler didn't get to see the episode with the comedian, the below average Joe, but he moved out of his bedroom next to his parents into the basement, and he had a whole new life down there, that being able to have your independence and what Bobby allows you to have that's really important to me. But as far as coaching and importance, I feel Kamaro and Tan do the same. They do a really good job. I hope I'm saying it right.
Karamo,
yeah.
Sorry, Karamo. Karamo, his life coaching skills are amazing. The conversation that he has with in Degadont is really enlightening. They really have some heart. They have a good heartfelt moment there. That's really good. And thinking about how he interacts with people in terms of becoming more self-confident. And I understand that Jonathan does that a little bit too, but Karamo really knocks that out of the park every single time. He really takes hold of that. And I really like that Tan does a good job of being able to promote everybody through style. That's my vehicle, so I can really relate to that. But I also think that he does a good job of instilling confidence in that way, particularly in the episode in Camp Rules when he takes Bobby Camp to Target, which I know is something we talked about, but he finds each of the guys has a different way they want to look, or a different price range they can shop in. And I think Tan does a really good job of showing how, not that is a play on words, but how that is actually tangible, that you can maintain this, right? That you can maintain this aesthetic, that Jonathan helps out with too. but that really changes you. It really, you can tell that everybody at the end of these shows is like ready to be more of themselves than they were before.
Tyler, who stood out to you?
I feel like we don't really talk about Anthony at all.
You and the whole rest of the internet. You haven't finished the show yet, so you may not get this, but there are like blog posts and Instagram memes and stuff all over the internet about like, A, who is Anthony and why is he here? Or B, why is everyone shitting on Anthony?
Anthony is the hot one. Let's just say that much.
I mean,
Really?
I feel like I just like the way he talks, and I feel like he's a little sassy. he's at times he's not very nice. and I kind of like that, but I mean, of course, like I don't, I feel like his portion takes up so little of the show, and I'm almost kind of like, well, I mean, I guess you could teach him how to make guacamole, but like, that's not really teaching him how to fish. It's just telling him how to microwave like a can of tuna or something. You're like, well, but I mean, of course, I like. How can you decide? How do you decide which is your favorite? Because they're all so wonderful people. I will say that, like, I think my favorite part is just when they all kind of meet the person and they just touch the shit out of them. They really just want to get a feel for, like, how aggressive they can be. And it was so stark between the first and second episodes where it's like, I forget his name, but the first one's like, sure, whatever, I'm in for the ride. And the other one's like, please don't. Please, this is very uncomfortable. I mean, I like Jonathan, but I feel like everyone's already said Jonathan. I mean, what's not to like? I mean, it just feels like he says all the right words. He says things that are like kind of trendy and kind of like what the kids are saying, and you're like, I don't understand what's going on, but it's fun. But I mean, I guess since I'm kind of I guess my thing that I'm most interested in is like the fashion part of it. So I think I like Tan.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he like I'm not like, oh man, he has the best personality. But I do find like his advice is really good, and I like what he chooses.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's my answer. It's
you get to see a lot more of him throughout the series. So.
Yeah, once you get past the first 2 episodes, he gets a much larger role.
Oh, good.
So I'm gonna break with the tradition here and say that my least favorite is actually Jonathan.
You can shut your mouth.
Especially in the first few episodes, I feel like they lean a little too heavily on just like how loud and how out there Jonathan can be, to the point of like showing how uncomfortable he makes other people in the room, which I feel like is sometimes kind of against what the show is there to do. And they always like bring it around and like re-endear Jonathan to the people around him. But I do think that he's sometimes edited in a way that just makes him feel really abrasive. But I think he actually gives the advice that I find the most meaningful, which is why I wanted to talk about him. Because personality-wise, I think Anthony and Tan are my favorite. I really like Tyler was saying, the sass that both of them have and how they can both kind of be like undercutting and a little bit mean, but like in an encouraging way. But even though like his personality sometimes grated on me, I really appreciated from Jonathan all of the points about like, you need to take time for yourself. And particularly in episode 5, I think it is, Camp Rules with Bobby Camp, which we've talked about before, the guy who has 6 kids. He is very clear about like, man, you just need to like take 3 minutes for yourself in the morning and like have this space and keep the kids out of the bathroom when you're getting ready and just like take a moment and take care of yourself a little bit. And I feel like that's a piece of advice that like really resonates with me, because I do think taking those little bits of time for self-care is something that we all can struggle with pretty like routinely when we get busy and when we get stressed. And so I just found that really valuable.
Can we talk a little, and we can go back into this in we're discussing episode 4, I think, but about the idea of flamboyance. Because I feel like Jonathan on one hand, you can argue that they put a stereotype on TV. But on the other hand, he's a very nuanced person. And you're right, they show him making people uncomfortable. But I think without that outlier there, without somebody who is out there and who has, as Jonathan says all the time, he never had a choice to be in the closet. That was never his decision because he was always out because of the way that he was. And eventually he just had to own that. And in episode 4, the guy in there, I forget what his name is off the top of my head, but the guy in there is in the closet and he's questioning how flamboyant he should be. And that's a conversation that I've had with members of the gay community is it's not just whether or not they're gay, it's how gay they feel comfortable being. And I think that's a very important component to have. And I think that's why Jonathan can come off like grating, but he's still like playing a very important role.
Yeah, I totally see that. And I think in that episode in particular, you really start to see that side of Jonathan. That's really the point where he, as a personality on the show, started to turn around for me. Because you're right, I think they really start using his story in a much more impactful way around like episodes 4 and 5. And it was there that he started to turn around, at least in my mind. But I think, he plays a really, really important role in terms of the makeup of the cast. And I think it would not be the same show if he wasn't there.
Yeah. I think to that point, too, Anthony talked about how he was way more flamboyant at one point and toned it down because he felt like he wasn't being authentic. And that's how you kind of get like his like baseline, like mellow, slightly sarcastic personality. I love Anthony. I just like looking at him, but he's great.
All of the people they cast were ready to do this and weren't going to be like completely abrasive and ridiculous and bigoted towards the Fab Five or any of this process. They did a really great job of picking people who would get something out of it, but weren't going to be like crazy wife swap controversy screaming into the camera. And I think for the most part that works really well, but it does sometimes result in kind of lackluster episodes like the Remy one.
But I guess there was like one episode that was a distinct outlier from the rest of the episodes, and that was number 4, which is Too Gay or Not Too Gay. That one was almost completely different than any of the episodes on this entire first season.
And I kind of hate that Tyler didn't get to watch this one because I think this one was my favorite episode. So this is the only episode that doesn't focus on a straight man. It's the one we alluded to earlier with a closeted gay man. His father has passed away, and his biggest regret is that he never came out to his dad before he died. And so the whole show pivots around him coming out to his stepmom. And this one, I feel like, could bring tears to almost anybody's eyes. Like, it's so moving. Just completely wrecked me.
Yeah, this one has like all the parts that we seem to have liked about this entire series and bundled them into one like super dense, all-in-one, cry your eyes out, feel inspired, wonder how this dude has arguably the awesomest apartment I've ever seen.
Seriously.
Civil engineering, apparently.
I clearly chose the wrong career.
Still can't afford a loft that has windows in the bedroom, though, apparently.
But he's got a swing.
He's got a swing. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
An exposed brick wall.
Oh, my gosh.
Come on. To be fair, I have an exposed brick wall, so come at me. No, you're absolutely right. Like, this episode was like the strongest one, and I understand why they slotted it where they did in the season, because you don't want to lead with this one, but you don't want it to be the finale either. It's a really, really strong middle point for the series, and I just can't believe like how powerful this was. This is why we watch reality television.
I think that So he didn't have too far to go, right? Like, the way they cut his beard arguably made him look worse. And he's ripped. Like,
oh yeah, no, this dude, he was ripped. Like when he took his shirt off, yeah, I was like, no, that's not the same guy. Like there's no way that dude that had that shirt on, that was a trick.
No, I was like, man, his partner is like very good looking. I wonder how. Oh, all right, now I get it. But no, oh my gosh, I think that this isn't my favorite episode of the series. But the way that they are kind of like oh no pun intended, fairy godmothering him into like embracing his sexuality and like embracing his sexuality in a way that feels authentic to him. I think because he has all of these very masculine touches, and even when the apartment is done, it remains very masculine, and the way that he dresses is still very masculine. But so they're like, oh yeah, you like, we're gonna be here and we're going to like walk you through this coming out process, but we're never gonna make it so it doesn't feel like you. And I think that like, they didn't tell him how to come out to his stepmom. He decided that for himself.
Right.
And seeing that, oh my God, I had to like turn off the TV and like cry for a bit after that, because that was that you just see somebody just raw on TV, and that I think that's one of the realest moments on reality TV I've ever seen, and I watch a lot of reality TV.
Now, this one made me tear up a little bit, too, when he was talking to his stepmother in the bedroom before he came out, and then when he came out with her and introduced his partner, I was like, wow, this is a beautiful moment. That whole episode was quite a beautiful moment and funny, and they like rummaged through his stuff at the beginning, and they show his swing, and they're like, do you want to keep anything? And he's like, oh, kind of want to keep the swing, but then they find his like kind of BDSM stuff, which is really funny when they confront him about that.
He clams up so bad, and they're like, no, it's fine, we're just gonna put it back, but it's fine.
They're all so thirsty, and I love it so much. Like, Anthony literally gets up to get a glass of water. Like, it cracks me up entirely. But no, that episode is really good. I kind of gave Taylor a hard time for picking this one and skipping 3, but this one is really, really good.
So then my final point on this is, obviously I was really excited to watch this because it was shot in Atlanta. The Fab 5 loft is down the street from my apartment. I drive past it every day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like all right here in my neighborhood is where they do a lot of like the shopping and that kind of stuff. But
hipster.
I know, right? But no, so I started watching it because of that and finished it because I loved it. And then when we were planning for the show and doing some research, it turns out that David Collins, the creator of Queer Eye, is from Cincinnati and wants to shoot the second season in the Cincinnati metro area.
Oh, that's hilarious. Did you nominate Tyler?
I don't know if they're accepting nominations. Emily is finding this out live on the show in case listeners did not notice.
And just for everyone keeping track, I believe all y'all motherfuckers are on the record as saying Cincinnati fucking sucks. So how about y'all just go fuck yourselves? How about that?
I've never said that Cincinnati
Not you,
sucks.
Emily. Not you. I'm talking about those others.
Hey, just because somebody decides to locate their TV show, that doesn't make it a good city.
Well, they
Cincinnati
certainly put
is
a lot of stuff in Atlanta, a lot of TV shows, and boy, I mean, it seems like Atlanta sure is doing pretty well for itself now, isn't it?
And Cincinnati doesn't suck. It's just not as great as people who live there think that it is.
No, you're right.
I mean, it's no Cleveland.
That's exactly right.
It's just a suburb of Cleveland.
Cincinnati, well-known suburb of Cleveland.
Arlington, Virginia, well-known southern suburb of Cleveland, because everything pretty much is.
But no, In all seriousness, I think we talked about it at the beginning, and I do want to close with it here at the end. The moving this show around, I think, is what's going to make it so much different. We talked a lot at the very beginning about how the original run was in New York, and it was very high budget, and it was really kind of inaccessible. I feel like Atlanta is a big deal for the first season, but going into the Midwest for the second season not only shows more roots in the middle class, but it also, I think, makes the show feel more accessible because it could come to your city next. It just happens to be coming to our hometown next.
Let me advise you, Queer Eye producers. There is a outer ring suburb of Cincinnati called Westchester, Ohio, and you will find no better place to find candidates than Westchester, Ohio. We replaced our skating rink with a shooting range. That is the area that you are in. Please go to the Cone. Enjoy go to the IKEA. Well, it'll be a beautiful shooting location for you all.
Okay, I want to make a pitch for good old Claremont County.
Oh,
go ahead.
Man.
If you're looking to make somebody who talks like this into somebody who has an astute sounding voice, who might want to have some kind of intellectual conversation about politics and such, you can find that in Claremont County. Because let me tell you, we got opinions.
That's right. And you can find me in Claremont County, right next to the McDonald's, next to the Burger King, next to the Arby's, next to the UDF, next to the Skyline, next to the Popeyes, next to the Taco Bell, next to the KFC.
See, the reason that I feel like I have to talk kind of smack is because I grew up in this place, and as I live far away from it, I realize that I miss it. Mm-hmm. And I admire it a little.
Yeah, I mean, where else can you drive out of a body shop, go 2 blocks down the road, have your car break down, and just coast into another body shop?
Next to the White Castle, next to the Chipotle, next to...
Listen, there's... In my hometown where I grew up, there is a place called Fast Food Alley. Every restaurant that you could go through in a quick manner will be in that alley, and you can go there and get it. So if you want to take your gold or gold star, geez, I just really want chili. If you want to take your White Castle and you want to dip it into chili spaghetti and then wrap it inside of a chalupa shell and then wrap that chalupa shell inside of a mini pizza, you can do that.
Think of the lives that could be changed.
And I'm talking, you can do this in less than 15 minutes. You can do all of those things.
Now, readers at home will say, now, Sean, surely, how long could this possibly take? Unfortunately, what we don't know about Claremont County is that literally everyone needs to speak to the manager, and one person is always ordering for 5 people.
So basically what you're saying is they're a very quality conscious and family oriented place.
Yes.
Yes.
Alright, so this week in Internet Garbage we have a link from our guest panelist, Emily Bamforth. Emily, what is this?
I think that what's best is that you watch it and then I explain it. It's called, I forget what the actual name of it's called. Is it just I think it's just called My Roommate Sonic. And you should watch that now.
Oh my god, what?
Oh my god, are you in Sonic watching oh my god, are they watching a softcore hedgehog porno?
No, I think it's just a nice little soft boy. He's just hanging out.
It's up to interpretation, really. Alright, so what they just watched is called My Roommate Sonic. It's a game that's a part of a 4-game pack that was released in 2015, I think, for PC. Basically what happens is you are sitting next to your roommate Sonic on the couch and you're in love with him. And basically, you go through and shenanigans ensue, basically absorbing you into a game. The thing is that this was re-released in VR recently, which is why everyone's playing it now and doing walkthroughs. So it's apparently... Well, let's start out with this. How do you guys feel right now?
Deeply concerned. This, I mean, we've watched a lot of, like, YouTube poopy stuff on here before, and some of, like, cringe stuff, but this felt very odd. Like, just in terms of the, like, structure of it, it's like you're in love with your roommate Sonic, but then you're getting text messages from Dr. Eggman who's encouraging you to do it, but then he says go in for the kill, and then he tells you to look into Sonic's eyes, and I don't know, it was just very uncomfortable.
I'm surprised. Go ahead.
I was going to say, okay, would you say this is more or less uncomfortable than Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared?
Different.
Okay. Acceptable answer.
I feel like it more slightly... I don't know, actually. You're right. It's different. But I'm surprised. Tyler, I think I heard you chuckle a couple of times. When I first saw this, I laughed hysterically throughout the entire thing.
Unfortunately, I'd already watched several playthroughs. Well, lots of people covered this when it came out originally, so I had already seen this a few times.
Right. So you were already
My
through
chortles
that.
were gone.
Your chortles were gone, but neither of you seemed to find it amusing.
Oh, I found it interesting. Amusing is not the right word.
So, Sean, you've been weirdly quiet.
I have no feelings, positive, negative, or any other to this video. I honestly want 2 minutes and 44 seconds of my life back, so...
You know, that's not surprising. I feel like if anyone was going to be nonplussed about this, it was going to be Sean.
Nonplussed.
So the idea behind it, or so it seems from the quick summary that I read on the Wikipedia page for this game, is that fans of the game are weirdly obsessed with Sonic to the point of wanting to be him and kind of exploring that erotic side to that. And then eventually you get absorbed in and you are Sonic, but you've taken it way too far and now it's bad. So that's kind of the idea behind it, according to Wikipedia.
I mean, sure, that makes sense narratively in the video. It's just like there's something about the bad motion graphics that they're using and like the bad physics of trying to pull his shoe off. That like that part in particular, I was just like, what's going on?
So there's another one in the pack where it's Sonic Movie Maker, and you're controlling the camera in that game. And so you're turning the camera around and like making it hover different places and like controlling the scene from a different angle. It's really weird. You should watch playthroughs of it. Sean, you probably wouldn't like it, but...
I mean, the TLDR is that Sonic gets pregnant, and then I think you also come out of Rouge the Bat's asshole.
Does that eventually happen? I didn't watch that far.
That's right. Those are separate encounters. That's right. Because there's the one where Sonic gets pregnant, and then you're like inside of Rouge, and then you're in like a playpen. Anyway, the entire point of this game series is that it's just supposed to be fucking weird, and like it's supposed to get you like, it's just weird, like almost like YouTube poop-ass kind of stuff where it's like there's also like a fake MMO where you're just like carrying eggs around, and there's like a Sonic character creator which just makes stupid bullshit happen. You press a button, it makes a random funny Sonic name.
It's just weird fan stuff.
I appreciate weird fan stuff, but this is just not... It's too weird for me.
Too spoopy.
Too spoopy, but we'll link in the show notes to it if anybody wants to get spooped out, I guess.
Sean, remind me to send you the Sonic characters on a political alignment chart, because I have that somewhere.
Why does that even matter?
I don't know.
Why does any of this matter, Sean?
Tell me,
Because
Sean,
you live
how
on
many
the
Sonic characters exist? Can you tell me?
No, I can't. But I can tell you that Cream the Rabbit is not on that political spectrum, and it makes me really annoyed.
God, you guys know way too much about Sonic. All right, well, it's time to wrap the show up like we always do with a round of shameless plugs from everybody on the panel. We'll go ahead and get started with Tyler Reed. Tyler, where can the people find you?
Hey everybody, you can find my design and illustration work at tylerDreed.com, and you can find me on socials as TER Design on Instagram and Twitter.
Fantastic. Sean Evans, where can the people find you?
They can find me at sevans8910 on Twitter.
And Emily Bamforth, thanks for joining us. Where can the people find you?
You can find me at Emily M. Bamforth on Twitter, or you can find me and Taylor at TMTT Pod on Twitter, and listen to 10 Minute Tech Talk, the technology podcast we do each week. Except not really this month, because that just really didn't happen.
Travel happened. It's fine. Like Emily said, you can find us on 10 Minute Tech Talk. You can follow me at TC Olmstead. You can like and follow the show. We are at Dudes Brunch. If you really like what we do here, you can leave a review on iTunes or recommend us in Overcast. And we will see you all next week for another episode of Dudes Brunch.
Avocados are great.
How affordable.
Much affordable.
You can make your own guacamole at home for half the price.